Can't be helpful for her, given the start to the year that she's had, to have someone else, though, kind of going back over something and criticising her publicly.
Is she an entrepreneurial icon?
I do think she's in a bit of a no man's land. There's this real identity crisis. It's like, who is she?
She said that when she had this blind date with Prince Harry, she had no idea who he was. Well, she said when she was asked to curtsy, she'd never done that before, you know. It's just not true, you know. This woman just exaggerates things. What I worry is, where's Harry in all this, you know? We don't see him doing anything. He's not involved in any of it. The king, he said to me, he said, look, the doctors have told me to slow down and take it easy, and I'm telling you to do the same, he said to me. You know?
It's just the epitome of keeping calm and carrying on. Hello, I'm The Sun's royal editor, Matt Wilkinson, and this is Royal Exclusive. Today we welcome to the studio The Sun's legendary photographer, Arthur Edwards, and news.com.au royal correspondent, Bronte. Now, it's been quite the week for Meghan Markle. She's been accused of merchandising her children, making money from clothes, called adrift on facts and reality, released a trailer for her podcast, and it's 5 years since Megxit. Where in the near catastrophic car crash of a week do you want to start, Bronte?
That question is the equivalent of one of those absolute Whopper burgers. I literally don't know where to bite first. Where should we start? Okay, well...
Should we start with Graydon Carter? So this is the former editor of Vanity Fair. And he was talking about an interview in 2017 that Meghan did with the magazine. It was a front page cover. And I think he said that she is adrift on facts and reality. Is that an accurate description?
Well, it came after he explained that she seemed to be a bit put out. I think the word was challenged, because the reporter was obviously asking about the fact she was dating Prince Harry. That had come out less than a year earlier. They went on to get engaged a couple of months later. It's the reason she was in the magazine, let's be real. The Suits was popular, but she's an ensemble cast member. And so she was a little put out. They weren't talking about her charity work instead. And so for him to then say she was a bit adrift from reality, I think is a fair assessment, because obviously that's what the conversation was going to be and went on to be, and what the cover was. So, look, I will say this happened in 2017, so some years ago. Can't be helpful for her, given the start to the year that she's had, to have someone else, though, kind of going back over something and criticising her publicly like that.
It's not the first time, though, Arthur, is it, that it's maybe been pointed out that she may be bending the truth a little bit? I mean, if you remember,
I think the editor, if the editor didn't know who she was, I mean, the editor of a magazine like that would probably know most people are, and he didn't know who she was, and it was only in the magazine because she was dating Prince Harry. And he got a fabulous picture of the front there. I mean, whoever shot that, you know, congratulations, you look superb. But, you know, she apparently said she wanted to talk about her charity work. Well, no, he didn't. You know, he wanted to talk about her relationship with Prince Harry. So, you know, she nothing to moan about. She got great publicity, and she was unknown. I never heard of her when I first heard she was linked with Harry. I never heard of her. No one I knew had heard of her. No one in my family had heard of her. She was a complete unknown, like a film I've just seen, and it was. You know, I think she was lucky to get that publicity. I mean, and that's what she always sought, publicity. She wanted to show him what a great actress she was. The thing is, it was just, she was lucky to get that, and then moaning about the fact they never talked about her charity work. Well, you know.
Well, I think the idea was that she wanted it to be about philanthropic work, which is a very difficult word to say, by the way, philanthropic work that she was doing, but the researchers of Vanity Fair couldn't actually find evidence that there was the amount of philanthropic work that she alleged. But it's just these comments that just stick with me, adrift on facts and reality. If we look at other things, I mean, she claimed that she got married in the back garden of Frogmore Cottage by the Archbishop of Canterbury. I remember she's given interviews where she said that she met a cast member from The Lion King who said that they celebrated her wedding in the same spirit as when Nelson Mandela was freed from prison. And she also spoke about a cabin crew member. I seem to remember doffing their hat to her and saying thank you for all the service to the country. I mean, she does have a history of tall stories.
It's kind of like whenever you watch Hollywood stars do those talk show interviews and stuff, and they have those great anecdotes. And I don't mind that they're softening the edges of it a little to make a great story, but the problem is when you become a high-profile person in the royal family, facts matter and the truth matters, and particularly when you're talking about historical events. And I think that's where the real issue comes in. So I do believe, adrift from reality was, given those examples especially, not an unfair summary of it.
Oh, she said that when she had this blind date with Prince Harry, she had no idea who he was. Well, she said when she was asked to curtsy, she'd never done that before. You know, every girl knows how to curtsy. They do it as kids. You know, I mean, it's just not true. You know, she as Bronte just listed a few others there. You know, it's just this woman just exaggerates things, and the fact is she was only ever in Vanity Fair because she was having, you know, seeing Prince Harry, and she looked like she was, you know, she grabbed him, and she was, and that's the reason, and she should be grateful for that.
So is this comment from Graydon Carter, as I say, is the ex-editor of Vanity Fair, but a very well-respected journalist. Is this comment, is this just stating the obvious, or is it hugely damaging to Meghan Markle?
I would say that off the back of, I mean, you go back 2017, she's on the cover. It's a very gushing piece about Meghan. We then go to January this year and Vanity Fair released that tell-all sort of article that was very damaging to her with the bullying allegations resurfacing and giving this idea of her and Harry being a bit directionless in business. I think it's not the turning point, but it's certainly unhelpful because it's a big US publication that she would have traditionally been favoured by, and now it just kind of indicates again, you know, I know he doesn't work for them anymore, but he did for many years, decades. And so it's again just that idea that she's kind of fallen out of favour.
Now, Graydon Carter should have been an ally of Meghan. That's someone that she would have sought approval from, because even Vanity Fair editor. Another person that my understanding is she sought friendship with and approval from is Gwyneth Paltrow. I think in many ways she's modelled a lot of the work that she's done over the last 6 months to a year on Gwyneth Paltrow and her Goop, very, very famous and very, very successful.
I think Gwyneth Paltrow is famous because of Shakespeare in Love, for which she won an Oscar, and Meghan's famous for just marrying a prince. That's the difference. One, you know, and she was very established, and Gwyneth Paltrow, I think that thing thing she launched is worth millions now, and it's followed greatly. But whether Meghan, with, you know, a new podcast and this show she's done, In Love, and whether that takes off, I don't know. But there's, you know, she's got 2.5 million followers on Instagram, so, you know, there'll be a lot of people buy the clothes she wants to help sell. And I think the clothes are pretty boring and very expensive, what they are. But people, you know, people think, oh, Meghan wore this, I'm going to buy it, you know. And it's the same with our princess here, Catherine. I mean, everything she wore sold out. In fact, she's recently stopped giving out who made the clothes and anything to do with the clothes. It's almost like she got a tip that what Meghan was going to do and she wasn't going to do the same. But in fact, you know, when Catherine wears an outfit, I mean, sort of stunning in it, I mean, it does sell out. I mean, it's just a matter of fact. So whatever Meghan puts on that site, whatever clothes she wears, a pair of sandals for 300 quid or a dress for $1,000, people will buy it, and she will get a rake off from that, and it's a business. But the fact is, you know, she's trying hard to make a, you know, because obviously her sort of podcasts were not very great, and the movie she made, the videos she's made are not that great. Maybe she'll do well selling clothes, but who knows? I think she, you know, she can't compare herself to Gwyneth Paltrow. Gwyneth Paltrow was a magnificent actress and well known, and did it all on her own. You know, she never needed marry some famous person. She married a very famous person. Married a band leader, Chris
Martin from Coldplay, and her parents are very famous. I will say Gwyneth Paltrow is a Nepo baby, but has done very well.
Yeah, oh, great actress, yeah.
The Gwyneth Paltrow one I'm in two minds about, because, I mean, we've spoken about this on the show. Clearly, you know, you have a vision of what, if you're launching a new brand, you have people you'll draw inspiration from. And there's no doubt that Meghan would have considered Gwyneth Paltrow's very successful empire, I think it's worth $200 million. She would have considered that as a sort of, you know, template of what could be possible for her.
Arthur touched on it earlier, and this is a story that I'm struggling to get my head around. Although I've written about it this week, I still can't quite understand. Meghan is, can someone explain to me what's actually happening? Meghan is sharing links to clothes that she likes, and then if those clothes are bought, she makes money off them?
So it's an affiliate link. I think it's linked through Instagram. I believe it's a program that is actually part of Instagram's business, which is the things that are posted on her page, the outfits she's wearing in those clips, they are then linked So if you're watching, if you go to Meghan's page and you think, wow, I've got to buy this shirt and buy this, and it's all there on her page, you're then able to just click on this one link that has everything there, that then you click through to the fashion brand or wherever, and you can buy it, but then Meghan will get a cut out of that if you purchase it via that link. You still look just as confused.
I'm still very confused.
Shopping is a very big,
why.
it's a big thing, it's complex. But yeah, so she gets a cut of it. If people go to her page and look for the clothes she's wearing through that link, she will get a cut of that, which is a very standard practice with influencers and celebrities.
What do you think, Bronte? Do you think she'll make money out of that?
You said it before. I think. Look, you're not going to click on it if you don't like Meghan and if you don't like what she wears. And there's certainly a population of that group. However, a lot of people do. So, they're the ones that are going to be clicking on it. And she does have a big fan base that are very passionate. So, and that's who she's obviously appealing to here. So, I don't know. I don't know how much of a cut they get. That's a crucial element.
10% I read somewhere.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, the thing is, if they're successful, well, she's had a go at it, and you've got to give her sort of credit for that, in my view. It's not such a... if everybody does it, why shouldn't she?
It's also just the final sort of part of that transformation into an influencer. They all do that.
But then she's supposed to be a duchess of the royal family. Should they be doing that? I don't know.
But I mean, she's been criticised, I think. Why? Is it mainly because she posted that image with Lilibet and Archie just a couple of minutes before?
I think that you've just touched on it then as well. There's this real identity crisis. It's like, who is she?
Yeah.
She didn't want the kids to be on display in the royal family, which I think a lot of parents understand to a point. But then she's launched the Instagram and she's using the kids, which again is her prerogative, but it just kind of falls out of step with what she said previously. And then, there's her monogram with the crown on it, but then she's kind of an influencer, which she has the right to earn money, but it just looks a bit jarring going, having the royal stamp on it. So, I just see it all as a bit of an identity crisis. I think that's at the core of the issue.
After the Queen died, she named her son Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet. I mean, she got that title for those children. I don't know. She's in a strange world, really, because she's using that title because it's not from a great acting career. She's known. It's for marrying into the royal family, and she's using that. But you know what? The videos they made, they got millions for that. The book, they're just, I suppose, looking for more and more ways to make lots of money.
Well, that has been branded tacky, the fact that you're just looking at ways to make money and putting pictures of your children on Instagram.
It's probably tacky here, but in America, it's not probably the same. I mean, in America, it's all money-driven, everything. But here, it's, we probably think it's a bit tacky and probably don't think it's the right thing to do. But in America, maybe, if Gwyneth Paltrow is doing it, Meghan's doing it, and they do well, probably get some other film star come along and do something similar. But, I'm not a big fan of Meghan's, but, she's getting off and backside and doing something with her life. She's trying to make a go of things, and whether it succeeds or not, she's had a go. Now, I saw that. I said last time I was on the show that, I watched the first one of that series about the cooking, and it was boring. For me, it was very boring. But for some people, it might have been really interesting, and they couldn't wait for the next one and the next one. And probably in America, we're not looking at it through their eyes. That's probably, they think that's a good thing. She's out there, she's working hard and making money. What I worry is, where's Harry in all this? We don't see him doing anything. He's not involved in any of it. He just seems to be wandering around, probably feeding his chickens. I don't know what he's doing all day long, but she seems to be beavering away, and for any, as I say, I'm not a fan of hers, but at least she's doing something with her life.
Well, is this a really good point? I mean, this moves on to the next issue.
I agree completely, by the way. Yeah.
The next issue is her podcast, and if we're going to give her credit, and I think it's only fair sometimes, to just not attack, but if you do something that we think you deserve credit, of course we talk about it. So, is it the case that this Confessions of a Female Founder is her podcast? It's talking about entrepreneurs, it's trying to elevate women, it's talking about, I think it was called it Girls Talk, and talking about advice that turns small ideas into billion-dollar businesses. So we talked about her being a social media influencer. Is she now, with this podcast, an entrepreneur? And is that something that we should give her credit as like a working mum, for instance?
Well, I certainly will listen to it. I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listened to one this morning on the radio about James Dyson and the success he had with his life and how he struggled for years before he became successful. And so, there's thousands of podcasts on there every day. So she'll just join another list of people doing it. But, she may have something interesting to say. And some of the people she brings along might be even more interesting. I've just seen how many people turn up. I don't know how many of her so-called friends she invited to the wedding are still her friends. You don't see them much with her. But we'll just have to wait and see. I think, she's going to do it. And there's nothing we can do about it except we can listen to it and say whether we like it or not. We just have to see.
Bronte, is the wife of Prince Harry setting up a podcast? Is she an entrepreneurial icon?
I think she would like to be from this point forward. It remains to be seen when we listen to it, how that goes. But I do think she's in a bit of a no man's land. People don't like to see laziness. People don't like to see, someone using their connections and coasting along. And in that regard, the fact that she's out there and working, and exactly like you said, working hard at building something. Some people like it, some people don't. But at the end of the day, she has to earn a living, and she is trying. So even though I found her show boring myself, at least she made it. And at least she's doing a podcast now. And really, isn't that what we've asked for? People say they just want them to go away, but the reality is that they have to earn an income. So, if you don't like it, you don't have to listen to it. I'll certainly give it a go. I don't think it's going to reinvent the wheel. It didn't really excite me too much, but maybe it will. Maybe she'll showcase a bit more personality, and we'll find out.
She's certainly good at it, when she presents things, and she does it beautifully, and she's good at it. I mean, we'll see what the podcast is. But the podcast will be, it's all about content. Just see if she's got much content to put, or get some famous people in, the tennis player, Serena Williams, and some of the other people, the Clooney's, maybe they might come, who knows? And it just might be just great, but we'll see. We've got to give it a chance. Give it a go.
Do we want to do any predictions for this? I mean, I think we all got a little bit tired and bored with.
Well, I feel like we're talking about it, really, Matt. Yeah. Anything else to talk about?
With this, specifically on this podcast, I mean, what do you think, Bronte? Do you think it will be a success? Do you think it will? Is it just there to boost her fame and to boost, put her all over the newspapers and in the press because they're undoubtedly going to write about it, or is this going to be a success rate?
It ties in with the other things that she's doing, so I understand it from that perspective. Maybe it will be empowering and it will appeal to the audience that it needs to. What I really hope from it, but I don't know that we're going to see it, is the issue that was with Love Meghan for me, which was she's being so careful and polished at all times. You're not seeing a person that you can really connect with, and that's what she needs to do if you're creating content that is based around yourself and your personality. You need to showcase it. So hopefully that happens here, but from the teaser, I'm not sure, but maybe, hopefully.
Well, Arthur wants to move on, and I think he speaks for a lot of people. All right, we never can fully move on from Meghan because she keeps giving and giving and giving. But let's move on to some of the...
Taking.
Let's move on to some of the working royals. Look, last week, William went to Estonia. I didn't go. I was in Northern Ireland, so we can talk about that in a minute with the King and Queen. But the thing that really marked this trip out, this trip that William did to Estonia, more than anything, more than riding in the tanks, was the footage of him having selfies with locals. I'm told from people who were there that this is Estonia, and I never knew that Estonia was such a hotbed of fandom for the royal family, but a lot of people came out for William. He was taking a lot of selfies. These scenes are normally reserved for the Princess of Wales. What do we make of that?
Well, I saw those pictures and I thought, he's very engaging with him when he goes on these things. He gets very involved with the public. And, I think he was asked several times for autographs, so they don't give autographs. But what he says, I can do a picture with you, and of course, people getting a selfie with a prince, and a future king, is pretty impressive. And I'm glad he did it. And, besides that, that stuff in the tank and the next day was superb stuff, and it's, of course, they share a border with Russia there, and I think it's more British soldiers out there than any other place in the world, so they're all out there training. So there's a kind of serious side to that visit as well, which is, letting everybody know that, we are there trying, part of the NATO force, to protect Estonia. Estonia is obviously concerned about the big bad boy next door, and William went there, and it was just all the time in that the Prime Minister has been, beating up the drum to get Europe to rearm, and I just thought it was great stuff, and the fact is he did the fun day with the people, but the next day it was really serious stuff,
I was just going to say, I think it's also, we've spoken about on the show how he has a new approach to what he wants the monarchy work to look like. And I do think it's a good example of it because, as you said, this was sort of one of the main things that came out of what was a very whirlwind trip. I think he was there for 36 hours or something.
Sure, yeah.
So you've got the high-level meeting, you've got that, which is out there with hundreds of people, being so personable, and then you've got him taking part in these military exercises. And it's a great example. I've seen the quote somewhere, and you'll have to forgive me, I can't remember where it was, but it was someone talking about, it's showing impact over endurance. These royal tours that used to go on, I think the Queen was away for 6 months in the 50s. But you've got these trips that William's doing that are quite quick, but he's really focusing on having that impact. And I think you really see it because we're all talking about it. We're all seeing the photos. We're seeing him, more of William being himself when he's out and around people, but it also has that really serious side and it has the part relating to the world events that are, of course, very serious. I thought for me that's one of the things that really stood out. It just seemed like a very good example of making that impact in a whistle-stop tour.
Yeah. This was something that he this was something that William and Catherine decided after the Caribbean tour. This was something they said that we're going to do it our own way. We're going to make these short, impactful trips. So it's really interesting to see that. Say 36 hours he was there. Yeah. What do we think about the selfies, though? Are you happy with the future king doing all these selfies?
Oh, why not? People love it. And as you said, they can't sign an autograph, and it just makes someone's day/year/probably decade to have a picture with the Prince of Wales. If he's happy to do it, and they do seem to be sort of fine.
That picture goes down in their family archive forever.
Exactly.
It means such a lot to the people. And he knows that, William knows that.
Yeah, exactly that. So
William's a shrewd cookie. And as you say, he's doing it his way. The Queen never, ever did, the late Queen never did anything like, never engaged. She shook hands with the public and probably asked them a couple of polite questions. Prince Charles, when he came along, he did it differently. He got really interested, people laugh with them, joke with them. And now William's doing it even more so. He's not only doing that, but he's selfies with them. That everybody's got a phone now. Well, and they're using it now. When the king is doing a walkabout, the policeman tells the people, put your phone down, because he wants them to talk to them, not to talk to their phone. Obviously, William, he thinks it's differently. So, why not?
That's a really interesting point, actually. That's what happens.
Yeah,
that's exactly what happens.
Yeah. So, it's the different generations. And you made the point earlier, he's even, at most jobs he goes on dressing casuals, chinos and no tie. I mean, he's doing it his way. I mean, Catherine always looks like $1 million. Williams looks like he's just coming from work.
It's very glamorous. But I was also going to say, Catherine and William, more than any other royals, really exist on TikTok. They have a lot of popularity on TikTok. A lot of the stuff they do gets shared on there. And that is also feeding into the whole selfie thing. They'd be very aware of that. And so when people have these moments, that all ends up in that sort of little sphere. And it kind of, again, feeds that idea of them being this very charming and accessible couple. So, and that's sort of a unique thing to them, I would say, in the royal family as well. So it all, I think it's smart. Exactly like you said, I think it works.
But let me tell you, when Harry used to do walkabouts, he was like a star in my view. I mean, he would sit down with kids, he would make kids laugh, he would tease them. He was just incredible. He was very giving as well. So both brothers, yeah.
Good. From the king of selfies to the king himself, King Charles is in Northern Ireland, as I mentioned earlier. I want to run a couple of comments that he said by you, Arthur, if that's all right.
Yeah, sure.
Because you know the king very well, and I want to get your thoughts on this. So we were at an event in Belfast. It was the first event. He met some circus performers, and he said to them, "It's good to keep on going, or good to keep going on," I think was his exact words. And then the next day, he was at Ulster University, and he said, he was speaking to cancer patients, at Ulster University, and he said, "What's that Winston Churchill saying? Keep buggering on." And on side effects, he said, "You just have to push on, don't you?" What are you making of that, Arthur?
I think, my view on the king is that he probably still getting treatment for his cancer, but he doesn't want to be known, his legacy doesn't want to be known as a sick king. He doesn't want to be a king of whinging on about having this awful disease. And so he's doing the right thing. I mean, he smiles and laughs all the time, and you would never think he was going through that treatment monthly or weekly, whatever happens for him. And I think that, buggering on, isn't that what you say, quoting Winston Churchill?
Quoting Winston Churchill.
Yeah, most people quote him now, don't they? I mean, last week we had a headline in the paper about the last of the few, when the last Battle of Britain pilot died. No, I mean, I think it was a lovely thing to do. And also, I mean, talking to other cancer patients, giving them, keep hope. You've got to keep hope alive in your heart. And one thing that he's done, and of course, we see recently Catherine come through and be cancer-free, and that's, well, thank God for that, Now, let's hope it happens to the King. But the King is, he's pacing himself. I mean, in Australia, he said to me, look, the doctors have told me to slow down and take it easy. I'm telling you to do the same, he said to me. But he's, he wants, however long he's our king, he wants his legacy to be something special. And that's why he's non-stop. His work, his diary is just packed. You talk to the people that work there at the palace, they say run off their feet with the amount of stuff he's doing. And he's, he's never been any different in my view. He's always got on with it, but using that word buggering on, I like that when I read that.
It's just the epitome of keeping calm and carrying on.
Yeah, it is. Of course it is.
I have a lot of time for it.
Yeah.
Now, one of the kind of wilder stories that have come out this week, which I'm not sure if it's true, but I don't suppose that massively matters. But there are reports that the King could offer the United States associate member status of the Commonwealth. Now, this doesn't mean that they're a full Commonwealth member. It means that they kind of can dip in and out, and it's kind of a welcome, kind of open arms kind of offer to Donald Trump when he comes for his state visit. There are discussions allegedly that the King could offer this to Donald Trump. Now, I would have forgotten about this story if it wasn't for the US president actually posting on his social media site, and he posted the Sun story, and he said, "I love King Charles, sounds good to me." So I'll ask you both, is USA joining the Commonwealth, is that adrift on facts and reality?
Well, great. When you started the story, I was going to say, well, Donald Trump's responded to it himself, so it's real enough now. It's possible. It's an interesting idea because, as we know, the beginning of this year has been a very interesting one in terms of global politics. You've got a situation where the EU and the UK, they have an increasingly fraught relationship with the US. We've got King Charles sort of in the middle of it, really helping out, strengthening those ties. This would strengthen those ties. I don't know how Americans would feel about it, but it's something that could go away in, it's a mostly symbolic thing, would be mostly symbolic for the US, but it sort of sends that message that we are friends. We're going to work together to take on, global challenges. It's an interesting idea it sounds really sort of, out there. But as you said, as soon as the president tweeted it, you think, all right, I guess it's on the table. Guess we're discussing it. Guess it's possibly going to happen.
And his northern neighbours in the Commonwealth, Canada, and he wants them to be the 31st state. So I probably feels he should probably join the Commonwealth as well. I hope he does. I mean, I think we need America really. I mean, we don't want this isolationist that's going on in America now. We need him to be part of the world, and at the moment it doesn't look like that. So, it was a good offer, and we'll see when he gets over here whether he takes it up.
Yeah,
I don't know how it'd work, but I mean, he'd be busy taking over Greenland and the Panama Canal and all these things. Maybe he hasn't got time for that, but let's hope when he comes here. I mean, when he came here last time, he fell in love with the Queen, didn't he? And she was very charming to him. I mean, I've met him. He's very engaging. He's a very engaging man. But he's just got this. Well, he's elected and he's got an amazing majority everywhere, and he can do exactly what he likes. But the King being kind, I think it was a nice thing to do. Yeah.
Fine. Well, I've got my spies out on this story, and I will report back if it's. If it's got any truth in it whatsoever. Right, just a quick little pause on the Princess of Wales, because it was the anniversary a couple of days ago of her video where she announced that she had cancer. I mean, I can't believe that was a year ago. How do you think she's getting on now? Do we think just have a quick little thought on a year on of Kate's cancer struggle?
You'd have to think 1 year ago on that anniversary, you know, they would never, her and William would probably never have thought that things would have, you know, gone to such a good place as they are now. She discussed the uncertainty and the fear that she had throughout that year, and it's so wonderful that a year on we actually can look back and say, okay, it's not over. I'm certain she's still dealing with elements of it as the family are, but it's great because she sort of reclaimed her public role to an extent. She and William seem very happy. She seems very engaged in the work she's doing, and I just think it's the outcome everyone would have wanted to see back then when it was quite a scary time. To mark that anniversary and say, okay, I think things have really trended in the right direction, and there's a lot of relief. It's a really nice thing.
Oh.
Yeah, I've photographed her a few times since she's been back at work, and she looks amazing, and she's very engaging and laughs and jokes, and she must be relieved it's all over. I mean, imagine when you get cancer, nothing else in life matters, no matter you're a princess or whatever, you know, it's the only thing that preoccupies your whole life. And when we saw that video a year ago, I mean, you know, we felt sorry for her. She, you know, lost weight and she was wearing that old jumper and I felt, God, you know, she's really struggling here, but she beat it. And so many people do. As I say, 2/3 of cancer, I'm told, to get cured if you get it early enough. So, you know, good luck to her, Kate. You know, she's back, and I just hope the King's not far behind her. I really do. I really want him to get better too, because he's got such a lot to offer, that man.
This may be an incendiary question, so please excuse me, but it's Mother's Day coming up. Do you think the Princess of Wales should or will release a photograph of her and her family marking Mother's Day? Remember what happened a year ago?
I hope she does. I mean, she's, I think, a brilliant photographer. And she sees those children when they are at their very best, you know, when they're really, she can get them with the clothes she wants and everything. And I think she did it last year, although she was a lot of row over it. Wasn't there with the fact that it'd been pixelated or had been altered. But, you know, I think she will get William to take the picture. She set it up. I think it'd be great. Hope she does.
I agree.
Do you think Meghan will?
Oh, I think so. She's been marking a lot of occasions. I mean, now that she's on Instagram, like you, Matt, newly on Instagram, she's on in a big way. And so I do think she's been marking all these occasions so far this year. So I would imagine there will be something, maybe. It's the UK.
I bet your life she will. I bet Bronte, I bet she does.
I think because her kids are half British.
Well, you won't see their faces, but, you know.
Well, who knows?
Well, so this Sunday in the UK is Mother's Day, is Mothering Sunday.
Yeah, so it is, yeah.
We'll find out.
Don't forget. Yeah.
Well, let's watch this space. Right, we've got time for our quick fire questions. Take a deep breath. Firstly, have you ever had a selfie with a royal?
No, I haven't had a selfie with a royal, but I've had a couple of selfies with quite important people. I had one once with the Dalai Lama. Right. And another one with Prime Minister David Cameron.
You both look so happy. That's a great photo.
Yeah, it was. I really enjoyed meeting that chap. He was really great. And David Cameron, of course, you know, I did an election tour with him, and we got on brilliantly together. So you know, but never with a member of the royal family. I think I have a cheek to ask him actually, but now William's doing it, I might ask him.
I had one with Princess Catherine right after the coronation, but it's not a good photo of me for not doing that. But I do have it wasn't me, but on the 2018 royal tour of Harry and Meghan's in Sydney, it was my first royal tour I was covering, first day, very excited. I'm waiting for them to turn up at the Opera House, and I start getting millions of texts from people saying, I think your husband's just been accosted by Prince Harry. So my husband had turned up. He worked for a radio station at the time, and so as a bit of a stunt, they had this enormous bouquet of flowers. And so he turned up and gave them to Meghan, and she was delighted. You can see it all on tape. And she was very excited. One of her handlers took it. But then Harry barreled over to my husband, Matt, and points at him and jokingly says, you can't be giving flowers that big to my wife. Like, you can't be doing that. And so there's my husband's big bald head. You can see it in the middle there. And he loved that. But that was my first big royal tour. And I got completely scooped by my husband and then just had to cover that story. So
he's giving you grief. Yeah,
so, yes.
Fantastic.
Oh, he did worse than me, Harry.
He did, I remember. Yeah. Was it the paint?
Yeah. Worse. Oh, God, yeah.
We'll save that one for another day.
Okay.
Right. So if you were the king or queen, what would you offer to President Donald Trump?
I think he'd like a royal memento. I'm not saying we give away something of like British historical significance, but something that the king has maybe that's passed down from his mum, something little that would be very unique. I think would be a great way to flatter the president and win him over because, as we know, he's a big royalist. So some little gift like that would be a bit special.
I think I haven't got a clue, Matt. I looked at that question and I thought, what does he need? He's got everything, and he's got his own planes, he's got golf courses everywhere, houses all over the place. I think he's got enough anyway.
Just a nice friendly visit. I think,
I just hope I know when it comes, the king will make it really good for him. He'll make him feel very welcome, as will most of the people. And he's the president of the most important country in the world. He's been elected. He won a massive majority. He's coming, and we just got to say welcome.
And the final question to both of you. We saw Princess Beatrice writing about her preterm birth this week. Yeah. But which royal would you like to see more of and why?
I'd like to see more of the Duchess of Edinburgh. She's such a nice person, Sophie, and she really works very, very hard. And she doesn't get the publicity she should, because she is absolutely terrific at what she does. And but she just, honestly, I don't know what it is, because, she's travelling all over the world. She's been to Mali, she's been to India. She's involved in so many decent patronages, and doing good for people. And she doesn't get it. And it's not just for her personally, but if you promoted some of these causes that she supports, they would get more publicity from it. And I think for that reason alone, I'd like to see more of her, yeah.
My answer isn't to do with a working royal, and also I say it with great respect to why we don't see more of them, but gosh, it's so fun when there's an event and all the kids are out. I always just think you see Louis pulling his faces and the kids just being fun, and I completely respect why we don't see more of them, but whenever they are out, it's very fun, so.
Excellent. Well, it's nearly the season where we'll get things like Trooping the Colour and events like that where hopefully we get to see the children as well, and definitely more of Sophie. 100%.
Yeah.
Right, thanks guys. We've been through a lot, so I appreciate all that.
Thank you.
That's all we have time for on this week's Royal Exclusive. Thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments as we do read them, and don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. See you next week.